Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and I have a fun housewarming card to share with you. Hey, so I'm using Jaded Blossom's Invitations Galore stamp set, their Wheelbarrow dies, their Congratulations stamp set and outline dies. Oops, there we go. Our Sentiment strip dies, the Gnome dies, the Build-A-Booth dies, and the Build-A-Booth Gingerbread House add-ons. And I'm using P13 Stamping Pad Skin Tones, remember from Jaded Blossom, get it there. We're using Doodlebug's My Happy Place 6-inch pad along with Rainbow Petite Prints in Polka Dot Plaid and Dot Stripe as well. And I'm using the My Happy Place Odds and Ends. Oops, there's the dot stripe there. And now I'm going to quickly create a card. So my son asked me to make him a housewarming card. He's going to a party this weekend. And that's what I'm going to do. So I pulled out a piece of paper from that Doodlebug, what's it called? My Happy Place 6-inch pad. And I just chose this stripy paper. And I'm going to stamp the congrats on your new house, all sort of straddling the different colors. And I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. And I've got to actually wipe down that waffle flower grip mat. It's getting kind of dirty, so it's not gripping as well as it normally does. There we go. So congrats on your new house. And then I'll be using the outline die along with the sentiment strip dies to cut those out to go on the inside of my card. So there we go. Then I'm going to stamp a little sentiment. Oh, actually, I don't know if I showed you that. I used the Gnome Dies Sign Add Ons. So I'm using this sentiment. It's a party, and that is from the Invitations Galore. And you saw that I cut the, in between the it's, or the and a party, just so I could stamp it all on the front of this little Gnome Dies Sign Add-ons. So that was cut, the Sign Add-ons was cut out of Nina Desert Storm 80-pound cardstock. And then, so I stamp party first, and then I'll line up that other piece. I'm using a little bit of tape on this, only because I didn't have time to go and just wipe down this waffle flower grip mat. It would have saved me some time, but you know, what can I say? So this says it's a party, so it'll say it's a. So I'm just kind of lining that up, and I'll use VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to go ahead and stamp onto that little piece. So it's kind of fun, right? So that will be the little sign on my booth. Okay, so I cut out my gnome in Paper Tray Ink black cardstock, and then I used Geeman Tyndalo cardstock. It's just a wood grain craft cardstock. I believe you can get some version of it from Lawn Fawn, but you know, check that out. So I'm just inking around the edges with white pigment ink from Close to My Heart. It's called White Daisy. And then I'm going to add this beard onto my background. So the neat thing is that with this beard, with the wood grain, it kind of makes it look like it's hairy, right? I have the, you know, the wood grain kind of going vertically. And I'm using Nouveau glue. And I'm just going to stick everything down to my base layer. Now the hat was cut from the Polka Dot Plaid from Doodlebug Rainbow Petite Prints. And I'm just going to ink around the edge with that same white pigment ink. And just adding that on to my little gnome. And there we go. Yeah, so my son is going to a housewarming party and he puts in his orders now. So I just decided, yeah, I can make a housewarming card. Why not? So all my die cutting today was done with my Anna Griffin Empress machine. I'm using reverse tweezers, working on a Stampin' Up pad as per usual, using Stampin' Up dimensionals. They're my favorite. Now, I used P13 Stamping Pad Skin Tones for the nose and the hands. And remember that you can get that from Jaded Blossom. There we go. And I did pop his little nose up with some Stampin' Up dimensionals. And the little cup was cut from that same My Happy Place 6-inch pad. It's just like a little all over pink heart pattern. And I'm going to stick that down onto some black cardstock as my base. And then the little hands will be glued down flat because I'm going to pop the whole thing up. The little hands is that P13 Stamping Pad Skin Tones. which is handy that Jaded Blossom carries that. You can get your gnome dyes and your skin tones at the same time. Now this little layer of either coffee or hot chocolate was cut out of Paper Tray Ink dark chocolate cardstock. So I have a card base here cut out of Paper Tray Ink craft cardstock at 4.25 by 11. I'm scoring it at 5.5 inches with my Martha Stewart scoreboard on my Teflon bone folder. There we go. And then on the inside, I'm adding a piece of Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, cut at 4 by 5.25 inches. And I'll stick that down with some ATG tape. Okay, so I have that little layer in the center now. And I'm going to add a 1-inch strip of paper from that same 6-inch pad from Doodlebug, the My Happy Place. And I just trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. There we go. And I'm going to decorate the inside with a little bit of ephemera from the odds and ends that match that. So that's the My Happy Place odds and ends. So I'm going to add this little house. I thought about adding the tree, but I skipped that. So I'm going to stick that down with some Nouveau glue, using my reverse tweezers to get my hands out of the way. And I'm going to add this little fence just for fun. And I'll kind of tuck that behind my little house there. And then I will trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors on both sides, because that's nice and easy. There you go. I like to decorate the inside of my cards. So I'm pulling out a secure white Jelly Roll pen in a number 10, and I'll add a few little highlights. Nothing crazy, just for a little bit of fun. And then there you go, basically, right? Nice and easy. And I'm going to take this paper that's from that same pad, and that's cut at 1/8 of an inch smaller than an A2 size card front. And I'm going to glue that down onto the front of my card. I do peel it up to get it straight. I actually have to stand up to do this now. So I'm standing up, just trying to get it straight. It's just like a neat all over kind of like house pattern. And I do weight it down with an acrylic block. So I did cut out my little Build-A-Booth with some craft cardstock. This is going to be totally hidden. And then I cut just the little posts out of pattern paper from that same My Happy Place pad. And what I wanted to do is I didn't want to waste a whole sheet of that pattern paper. So that's what I did. So next I'll put together this little sign. So I cut the base out of Nina Desert Storm 80-pound. And then I added the sign part, and then I'm going to add the string that was cut from Recollections craft cardstock. And I'm just going to pop the string on with that Nouveau glue, and I will weight it down. There we go. Okay, so next I went ahead and I cut that little roof from the gingerbread add-ons from the Build-A-Booth. And I cut it out of that same yellow polka dot pattern paper from that My Happy Place 6-inch pad. And you notice that I sort of cut off the top because I'm going to make this look like a little house, not like a gingerbread house, not like a booth. That's what I'm going for anyway. So next I'm going to add this black polka dot paper, and that is from that same 6-inch pad, My Happy Place. Same with the chimney. Both papers are from that. And I'm just going to line up all my little pieces there using my Nouveau glue. And then I'm going to keep this little scallop piece sort of like it's a Victorian. That's what I was going for. And I'm just going to add that little strip. I just thought it looked cute. And then I'm going to add my little planks that are cut out of that same yellow pattern paper to my craft background. But you could use anything. You don't, like, it's not going to show. So, you know, whatever your scrap can be, we'll see. Okay, so I'm just going to pop down all of these pieces. And using that same Nouveau glue that I'm using, and then I will weight it down in between. There we go. And then I'm just going to stick my last little piece down. And, you know, with a little bit of glue. As per usual, right? There we go. and I'll weight that down. So like I said, all the pattern paper is from that same Doodlebug pad. It's a super cute pad. It's an older one, My Happy Place. I hadn't used it. It was in my stash, so I thought, why not? So I layered up the little door, and I'm going to have that centered on my background. So it's kind of the idea is like a little yellow house, kind of cute, right? And then I will add on my two little windows. The little window part, the glass part, is from the dot stripe from Rainbow Petite Prints from Doodlebug. And it's kind of an aqua color. And then the little pattern, the little black dot pattern is from that same My Happy Place pad. And I'm just layering those up with some glue, and I do weight it down, like I said, with an acrylic block. Now I'm going to cut out these sentiments from the inside. And what I do is I'm using the sentiment strips, and I like to use the relief cut. And I line it up, and then I pop the little die in there, and that way I make sure that it's lined up perfectly and will cut out my little sentiment perfectly. That's what I do. So I'm just sort of sticking down my paper on the back, and then I will line up my little dies and run it through my die cutting machine. There we go. And I am using some Easy C tape just to stick that down. There we go. And of course, I'm farting around with this, but this is what I do when I'm trying to make things perfect. It's just the way I am, people. I just can't. There's no defending it. I'm a little crazy about stuff like this. I like everything to look perfect all the time, right? And I'm going to pop in those little sentiment strips, and then I will cut it out. So I've got my little congrats. You'll notice that I stamped it kind of on an angle, so it covers, the yellow and the greens. I just thought that looked fun. And I cut it out with my Spellbinders Anagriffin Empress machine. So there we go. And then I have my two little sentiment strips, and that will be going on the inside of my card. So I thought I'm going to glue those on now with some of that Nouveau glue. I'm going to have it kind of on an angle, because why not, right? So it says, congrats on your new house. There's also a congratulations. So you could use the long version if you don't like the short version. And I'm just going to line up those two sentiments there. And I also have some other ephemera that I'm going to pull out here momentarily. There we go. And, well, I guess I'm going to move to the front of the card for now. So I'm sort of figuring out where it's going to end up. And I'm going to pop my little gnome. And this is where I screw up. I should have put that tape on the front of him. I wasn't thinking. Because I'm trying to tape him to the front of that. Yeah, so it kind of sticks out. You see what I'm going for? There we go. And that way he's like a one-piece feature with the house. Just makes it easier for when I go to stick it down onto my base. I also wanted to use some of that Rainbow Petite Prints dot stripe behind the gnome in the opening, just to, calm down the busyness of the background. Okay, so there's my little sign. That's going to be on the little post. And there is my little dot stripe piece of paper that's going to kind of fill in the back of that booth part. I just find that way I will get a better, make sure it's all lined up and nothing's hanging out funny. So that's how I'm just going to sort of fill in that hole. And this is Leanne being crazy again, but I just find it's a lot less busy right behind the gnome. It just makes it a little bit cleaner. So that's why I like to fill in that opening. Even though I like to use the patterns, I try to fill in the opening. So now I'm going to stick this whole kit and caboodle down on the front of my card base using some ATG tape. And there we go. And then I'll stick that down like I said, and just making sure it's in the right direction, the card base, because I've done that before. I always check now. There we go. And now I've got my little card. Now I'm going to line up my little windows to the left and right of my door. There we go. just using those reverse tweezers, and I do weight it down. Now I'm going to pop up the little mug, just like he's kind of leaning out a window. That's why I chose that little aqua color actually for him to peek out of the house. That's what I was going for anyway. And I'm going to have him sort of peeking out, holding his little cup of coffee or hot chocolate or whatever you want to call it. So I went ahead and I used the wheelbarrow dies and I cut all of the greenery out using New Leaf cardstock from Paper Tray Ink. It's just like a nice green, kind of matches with what I've got going on. And I'm just going to use some of this green filler and sort of put a bunch of these along the bottom of my card. And I will cut off the overhang with a pair of scissors. So I'm just gluing it all down kind of here and there. Okay, so I'm just going to add this greenery in. Like I said, these were cut out of Paper Tray Ink New Leaf cardstock. Just a nice green that matches what I have going on the card. And I'm just gluing everything down with Nouveau glue using my reverse tweezers. And then once I have all of these down, then I will be sticking down my little tulips. So I cut the little tulips out of paper from that same paper pad from Doodlebug called, I have to keep looking at my paper here, My Happy Place, the 6-inch pad. I used that piece of paper with the stripes to cut out various shades of pink of tulips. So I just think it looked, you know, really, really cute to have like 3 different colors of pink for the tulips. So I'm still filling this in, and I know this looks kind of like, I don't know what to, like overgrown, but that's what I was going for. I kind of wanted it to look more bushy at the bottom. And now I'm going to be using Stampin' Up! Dimensionals to pop up the little tulip heads or buds, just so they, you know, kind of pop up on the front of the card. There we go. And then I'm going to be taking the 3 shades of pink and adding them to the little Stampin' Up! Dimensionals. And I just think this looks super cute. And I think it adds a lot to the front of that little house, I think. Just going to add another little stem and leaf in. And then I'll add, because I'm going to be having 3 tulips on each side with a bunch of greenery is the plan. So I'm just going to stick down one more stem. There we go. And then I'll add this little bud. And isn't that cute? I just think that looks adorable. So now I'm going to trim off the overhang with a pair of scissors. You know, a nice sharp pair of scissors is your friend. And there we go. So now on the inside, I'm going to add a few of these little hearts from that same odds and ends from Doodlebug, My Happy Place. I like that the odds and ends always have these little hearts. And they just look cute on the background, I think. And then there you go. Isn't that cute? So I'm just going to stamp my little stamp on the back of my card using my White Daisy ink. I think that if you make homemade cards, you should get a stamp made. I just think it adds a nice touch so people know it's a homemade card. And there we go. So now I'm going to pull out some shape sprinkles. These little hearts are called Lots of Love. And I'm just going to figure out the right color of heart to put on that coffee mug. I actually use a red heart in the end. I'm just using a little pen blade to try them out, but I end up going with the red, or it's kind of like a pinky red. There we go. And then I'm going to pull out these little, they're really like little eyeballs. It's called an eye for an eye, but I'm going to use the largest one for a doorknob. There we go. And then you can keep watching this. I use a Secura black glaze pen to just dot in the little nail heads, but then I end up putting those little an eye for an eye enamel dots over top of them, you know, because I like to second guess myself, right? And, you know, I like to make all this extra work for me because that's just the way I roll. What can I say? So there we go. But I left it in because I wanted to show you. Now next I am pulling out, these are little flowers, and these are shape sprinkles called In the Garden. And I'm just going to put a bunch of little yellow flowers, and I'm just going to sprinkle them around in the greenery, just so it looks a little bit more full and interesting down there. You know, sort of explains why there's so many stems and greenery going on down there. So I'm just going to pick up all these little flowers and add them to my card front. And I just think it looks so sweet. I like the shine. And I don't know about you, but I hoard these stickers instead of using them. So I'm trying to make an effort to actually use these shape sprinkles that I have. There we go. And isn't that cute? I just think it looks adorable. And here I am second guessing myself. And I'm going to pull out these an eye for an eye, and I'm going to add these down. I'm going to add one as a nail head in this little sign. And then I'm going to add them on to the little nail heads. And I add a little bit of glue just because there's a little indent there. And, you know, I like to make things difficult for myself, like I said. And I'm going to use the smallest little ones for little nail heads. Just because I figured it, you know, kind of goes with the doorknob. Keep things, you know, looking kind of similar, right? And I'm just adding them all on. And then I'll have a quick, well, this wasn't such a quick card, but, you know, once the die cutting was done, it really didn't go that, it was pretty fast. And there we go. So thank you so much for stopping by. Be sure to hop on over to the Jaded Blossom blog, Be Inspired by the Team, the Jaded Blossom store to get your hands on these amazing products. And thank you as always for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. And I hope you come back again and watch another soon. Bye, everybody.